Hey, hi, welcome to Flicks and Chill with me, Luke. Today I have a very special guest with me. Chris Maher is here with me. So, Chris, why don't you take it away and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Maher. I'm an actor and sometimes producer, and we're here to talk about some movies, I guess.
Nice, nice and succinct. I like it. I like it. So you are actual actor. You have an IMDb page, which is I think it's very cool. So how did you get into acting?
I started at a very young age on in
Okay.
theater, probably when I was like 10 in sixth grade,
Mm-hmm.
getting on the school stage and just doing choir and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And got to tour the world for singing. Like I sang in different cathedrals in places like where you were from in Prague and
Mm-hmm.
even Notre Dame. And then went into started studying college acting, and it was horrible, terrible. I left, studied real things for a while, and then I got back into modeling, and then which scooted me right into acting, to put it easily, because
Nice.
I started modeling and realized, wait a second, I missed doing the whole being on stage and performing and
Mm-hmm.
doing this, and then
Mm-hmm.
one thing led to another, and here I am with an IMDb page.
Nice. So,
Yeah,
have you always been this like a there's this like a stereotype like every time I watch like an actor giving an interview about this, most of them are like, "Oh yeah, I would always perform at shows for my family when when we had friends and family around like I was 3, 4 years old and I would already be performing stuff just, basically being an actor." Was this your story as well or were you like, "Nah, not me."
not quite. I
Okay?
mean, I think the closest thing to it was when I started singing in sixth, seventh grade.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I liked it and I enjoyed it. And like I was walking through the mall one day when they were doing a Christmas special for the radio,
Okay.
and they were like, "Hey, kid, can you sing us a song?" And I was like, "Boy, can I!"
Mm-hmm.
And I grabbed the microphone from the guy and started singing out one of the songs and got a big crowd. And when I was just like a little 10-year-old guy, and everybody was great. Was it a good song? Was I good at singing? Probably not, but whatever. It was a 10-year-old belting out a song that people liked. So I think that was the closest thing to that I had.
I think in 10 years old, like it's really about how cute you are rather than how good of a singer you are. Like, so it's like, oh, that's cute. Yeah, we should have him sing more songs.
I was neither. I was neither cute nor good at singing.
Wait. You said you were a model as well. So like, okay, I need to push back a tiny bit.
Sure, yeah. I don't think I was a cute kid. It's like that, what do they call the ugly duckling thing? Or
hmm
you'd
Oh, so
start
you
out,
grew into it. So that's what you're saying, you
yeah,
grew into it. Okay. Mm,
yeah, I hit puberty and, started working out, playing sports.
hmm
And yeah, I think that, and just worked at it to try to
hmm
not be the weird, goofy, ugly kid that I was at the time.
No, I get it.
Okay.
I get
Had
it.
the glasses, the braces. I was scrawny and tiny. And this, I was like, "Hey, everybody, what's going on? Each voice that I just condensed because I just want to talk to everybody so much."
I see. So
That's
So you were like the stereotypical nerd, like like from the 90s, early 2000s, basically like scrawny braces, high-pitched voice. Okay.
course, absolutely. That was me. And then
And look at where
puberty
you
hit,
are now. Yeah, exactly. Like, damn. That's a glow up. That's look at you.
hanging out. Thanks, homie. Yeah.
No
So,
worries.
but I'm still the same weird, goofy kid in there.
No, that's awesome. So what is it about acting that fulfills you? Like, let's say I would imagine if given the chance you would continue doing this for until you retire or even beyond, right?
Yeah.
So what is it
Um,
about that profession that is like that's my calling?
Um, because I think it's because I've got ADD. Not really, but like life ADD.
hmm
I just I want to live all the different lives, and that's one of the benefits of being an actor.
hmm
Because, one day you're being a bad guy who does drugs and steals from people and kills them, and you get to play that and live in that world for a while. And then the next month you're being the good guy, chasing down the bad guys, doing car races or, you
hmm
know, just doing really cool stuff and experiencing amazing things and getting to be around really amazing people.
Hmm.
cool people that a lot of people want to know.
Hmm.
I'm not yet one of those people, but we're getting there,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, but
exactly.
yeah, I like the idea that there is no day is the same.
Hmm.
And that's one of the benefits of this. You get to travel all over the place and meet cool people and
Hmm.
experience cool things. That's the biggest thing.
That sounds awesome, actually. That sounds very good. So, is there a particular role that attracts you? Like, let's say you get five screenplays, right? Let's say you get
Mm,
five different offers. How do you, besides the obvious money, how do you
that
separate,
helps.
oh, I would like to do this one. Let's say money is equal. Let's say they'll pay you all the same amount of money. How would you choose?
You know, this is a crazy question for actors because
Mm,
it's always based on how they're feeling in the day
yeah.
when they answer these questions. And I would say the same. You know, there's no, like I said, the answer before is I want to live all the different lives.
Hmm.
So it's like, I want to live all these things. But if so, something that's more, I don't know, enticing, maybe something with more action would
Hmm.
be fun if I get to go do some really cool stuff. Or maybe the role is with somebody who is like really great, like a great actor that I've been wanting to meet, work with.
Hmm.
Those all play different parts. Or if it's just something new and out there, uh, and just hasn't been done or isn't seen very often,
Hmm.
and those definitely play a role. For
Hmm.
example, I have a movie coming up that we're going to be filming in September or
Hmm.
in fall time. It's called Nova, and it's a space film. Like it's a sci-fi romance
Okay.
is what it is. It's a 1950s astronomer. He flies up into to test some of the ships that they're preparing for NASA essentially,
Hmm.
and he gets caught in a space-time anomaly, and
Oh,
it
okay.
spits him out into the future.
Hmm.
And he's got to both try to exist in the future while trying to get back to the past
Hmm.
somehow. And it's that tour. So there's a lot of conflict there, but at the same time, we're doing a lot of cool space stuff. And we shot
Okay.
the short film of that, and the short film came out really cool. The proof of concept, it won a lot of awards, and we are excited to get going for it. So something
So,
like that, for example, is really
yeah.
big.
So for this specific movie, you have lined up for, September. Are you doing any special prep?
I think the most prep is what I'm going to be doing is just research
Hmm.
on what they were doing back then, how
Hmm.
to speak like
Hmm.
I'm in the 1950s.
Hmm.
Like I won't be saying like, "Oh yeah, bro, that's lit." You know,
Yeah.
don't be saying any of that.
That's
Uh,
low-key fire. Yeah.
low key fire. If you said that in the 50s, people would be like, "Fire where?
Yeah.
What's lit? Why is it on? Why is it lit? We need to put the fire out." Just
Hmm.
things that wouldn't make sense.
No.
Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, just working out, gotta work out, look good, eat right.
Of course. I mean, that's kind of nowadays, isn't it part of the profession almost? Like, I always
Hmm.
felt like, no matter how you look, when you reach a certain stardom, a year from then, you will look even better. Like, and it's always fascinating to see, like, how already good-looking people are, given them a year or two once they reach certain stardom and they'll look like out of this world.
Yeah. I feel like, once they hit a certain level and they get that first really big paycheck and they're like,
Hmm.
oh, I don't have to be on that struggle bus. I can afford a trainer.
Hmm.
Also, when your life is essentially on camera, you're going to be seeing and looking at yourself, or other people are going to be seeing and looking at yourself, and that plays a large role on one's conscious,
Yeah.
um, in one's psyche. So there's a lot of pressure there
Hmm.
for it.
Hmm.
Even the like you say to go to your point, even the actors who were became famous for being the fat guy, like
Hmm.
Jonah Hill, for example.
Yep.
He was the fat guy, and then he lost all the weight and got in shape and all that stuff. And he's like, well, he did the Scorsese movies, he did the big movies, and then, like you said, but
Hmm.
so it's
No,
like one way or another. Good for
that
him,
was
but
actually my next question. I know there probably might be like a ton, but is there like a one or two directors specifically you would love, if given a chance, like jump on and work with them tomorrow? Let's say you have a pick of a
yeah.
litter, like let's say you get to pick. director or two
for
right now
sure.
that excite you?
Oh man. I mean, just name any big ones that
Hmm.
have been there. I would love Scorsese would be awesome, would be super
Okay.
cool.
Hmm.
Um, Snyder would be awesome.
Hmm.
The big guy, what's his name? He did all the super. That's okay. Uh, Peter Jackson. I'm a huge
Oh,
Lord of the Rings film fan,
nice.
so
Hmm.
yeah, that would be dope. How
Nice.
about you? Who would
Well,
you go
I'm not
for?
an actor, so hey, like I.
If tomorrow I was like, "Hey, dude, there's a role that's perfect for you, but we
Mhm.
haven't decided on who we're gonna pick for the director. Do you have any
Ah.
suggestions for this space movie that we're doing?"
See, for space, I would go. I'm basic. I would either go right now, Nolan or Denis Villeneuve. Like, like those two. Like, but there are so many like talent and youngish people coming in from like like A24 and from like indies right now. So no, it's hard, but it's like like for space, you gotta go with the yeah Denis Villeneuve. Like he's done quite a few sci-fis and masterfully. Christopher Nolan. You cannot really go wrong with those two.
No. I kind of like it when you see directors stepping out of the particular genre that they're
Hmm.
going for. So I don't know, like seeing a director step in like that. Yeah,
Have
Christopher
you
Nolan.
Have you heard the Bong Joon-ho what he said about Alien that he would like to do Alien movie, the director of Parasite and Mickey 17. And did you hear the twist?
What's the twist?
He said, "I would like to do an Alien movie, but I would like to do it as a musical." And I'm
I
like,
hate it.
"See, I like the first impression is like why, but the second impression when I think about it for a couple of seconds, I'm like, but it's Bong Joon-ho. Let him do it. You know what? We've had
Yeah,
some
I
bad
get it.
Alien movies. And if he has some vision, I'm very intrigued. Like genuinely, like no, like I'm not gonna lie, I would be right there. I would be like opening there. I'm there. Like if like if you put there somebody else and it's Alien musical, I might be like probably not. But if it's him, I'm like okay, okay, I'm there. I'm
Yeah,
there.
you have a point. You have a point. I get it. Because there are several movies that exist that if you ever just told somebody the premise of the film,
Hmm.
you're like, yeah, that sounds like the dumbest film ever. But then it's made and it's genius and everybody loves
Yeah,
it. And yeah, and it works for whatever it works. So that'd be something. I would
correct,
definitely be curious about that.
correct. So, Chris, obviously you're an actor, you're a movie fan, that's why you're here. But besides that, do you even have time to have any other hobbies? Like, what makes Chris Chris? Is there anything else you enjoy whilst you're not acting?
Oh no, man, I don't have a life.
You're just so focused on your acting career. Like, no, I get it.
No, I've been playing video games a lot lately. I just
Okay.
downloaded Starfield. If
Hmm.
you've heard of that from Bethesda, if you like video games.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that at night when I calm down and chill out.
Mm-hmm.
But most of my time, I would say I spend try to spend with friends, but I make friends in the movie industry and try to make things happen. I spend a lot of time with family
Mm-hmm.
and I travel a lot,
Of
too
course.
much,
I mean, it
mostly
goes with the
for
territory, isn't it? Like, it's just
so
yeah.
I feel like I'm always recovering from one trip to another and just trying to catch up. That's all
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just playing a big game of catch up.
Yeah. What's your favorite? So, if you're a bit of a gamer, then what is your favorite genre of games?
Um, Things like medieval warfare type things.
Ah, okay. So, like Age of
Sword
Empire.
shields. Yes, I grew up playing that game on computer, and there's a game that's out that I play a bunch. It's called Mountain Blade Bannerlord, if you've ever heard of that.
Nope.
Uh, it's okay. It's very nerdy.
Hmm.
Or a recent one that just came out is Kingdom Come 2. I played the first one. I haven't played the new one, but
I have heard about that. It's a Czech
Mhm.
game. So yes, I have heard of that. It's a Czech developed
Yeah,
game. So very
that's
proud of
right.
that one. But again,
Yeah, have
haven't
you
played
played
it.
it?
Nope. I
If you're Czech, you would probably appreciate it because they use real characters
yes,
and real locations,
yes.
and each location and character they give like a huge bio about it, and it's about real time periods, times. So it's pretty cool, man. Check it out.
I've
Check it.
already seen some like Easter eggs where they have to translate into English for them to hit. And it's like, oh, this is so genius. Like this is like, there's like 10 at least like 10 I've seen like an article like, 10 best things we spotted in Kingdom Come Kingdom is the Kingdom Come? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because again, I'm not a gamer. My free time really is just movies, like spending time with my girlfriend and movies, TV shows, and obviously work because so yeah, not much free time really, and this. So yeah, I'm not really a gamer anymore. I used to game, but not anymore really. Can don't if we had like 36 hours days, like yeah, I
Yeah.
could find some time. That'd be cool, right?
We just didn't need to sleep. That would not be the worst thing
They
that
should
would
make a
help our
movie
life
about that.
if we just didn't sleep.
Mm-hmm. But then
Dude,
that's kind of a plot for the Bond villain from Die Another Day, right? Like, I don't need to sleep. I will sleep when I'm dead. And that's, he's the villain. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, yeah, true, I guess. It'd be like, well, you would do away with the need for beds, probably. Would you even need
true.
couches?
I mean,
Do you need rest? Do you need to like to sit and rest?
you'd probably still need to wind down, I'm guessing. I don't know. But it's the thing, somebody
Well,
needs to
because you
explore
get
this.
tired. And it's like, what if you don't? What if everybody's just on crack all the time? But that's just the premise.
Society on crack.
No, no, what would the movie title be? No Rest for the Wicked?
Or Society of the Snow.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't mean literally on crack. It's just how society is.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
pretty
just.
crazy
hmm
if we just didn't need sleep or rest.
It'd be interesting. I'll say that. It'll be interesting. And to be fair, I already don't sleep that much, so like I'm almost there, but I get tired. So hey, it's not great.
Sleepy boy.
No.
That's okay.
Yep. So you mentioned you're in between Iowa and Florida right now?
Yep.
All right.
Uh, so between Iowa and Miami, very
Miami.
different worlds.
Uh,
Yeah.
Very different words. Yes. So if I were to ask you, Chris, I'm, and I'll let you choose if we're talking about Iowa or if we're talking about Miami. If I were to ask you, I'm coming to either of those places for a week. What do I need to see? Where would you take me to? We need to see this because it's only here. You get to see something like this. Where would we eat? And I'll again, either Iowa or Miami is fine. Dealer's choice.
Sure. So, I mean, anybody visiting, I would definitely say Miami. Iowa is a great place and
hmm
it's fun and it's a beautiful place. But I mean, I encourage people to come here or to the Midwest
hmm
because where I'm from is real America. It's like how the rest of America actually is,
Okay.
85% of the US is like here. And it's just common, regular people who are very nice, will help
hmm
you out any situation you're in,
hmm
and just great to talk to. People are great. But if you're visiting, Miami's the place to go because, living La Vida Loca in Miami, you got to go to the beach, you got to go to some of the crazy clubs and do all that, and then go hit the pools and stuff like that. And there's some cool museums and places to eat there.
hmm
I think I've been to the Naceret in Miami. I don't know if you remember the Salt Bay, the guy who puts
Oh,
the salt
yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've had him salt my meat before.
How was
So
that?
I food like that. Overpriced,
Okay.
overrated.
Mm,
It's good,
hmm
but it's also like, well, I could make this same thing and just at home do the thing for
Yeah,
20 bucks or spend like $200 here.
yeah,
It's dinner and a show type thing. It's the experience.
yeah. You can be your own Salt Bay. So,
Yeah,
why pay somebody else to be the Salt Bay for you? That is true. That is true.
exactly. And
So,
it's a lot. It's expensive, but
uh,
fun if you got the money.
yeah, isn't that the
That's what you
problem
do in Miami.
nowadays? Like, you can have fun as long as you have money. That's the
Yeah, it's easy to have fun if you have a lot of money to have
go.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't made
That's.
it big yet, so I'm waiting. But when I do, you hit me up. I'll be like, "Hey man, come to Miami. We got our cigars. We're hitting the club. I don't care. We're getting the bottle service." And for some reason,
hmm
I'll have that voice. I guess that's just how I'm gonna talk when I have a lot of money. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, Miami seems wild. Like Miami, like I've
Yeah.
seen like some clips and shows, obviously from Miami movies, and like
Mhm.
it seems like a yeah one of the places to be for like as you say, partying if you want to have a
Mhm.
good time. It's almost like in a way what Las Vegas used to be in like back in like 90s, early 2000s. It's now like Miami. I feel like is more of the party town.
Yeah. They both are.
Hmm.
I've shot movies in both places in Miami and Las Vegas. I've shot in Las Vegas a couple of times. I
Okay.
would say, I mean, Las Vegas definitely still has that, but
Hmm.
I haven't been seeing it too much lately. But Las Vegas, interestingly, is turning into what they're calling Hollywood 2.0. So they're building some big studios out there. I think it's like Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg and other big Hollywood players are working on building studios.
Okay.
Uh, in Las Vegas area and Miami for movie production. That's where Michael Bay lives. He lives there.
Hmm.
Uh, I've worked with him before on a commercial, interestingly,
Okay.
in Miami. But the Miami is working on bringing films back to Miami
Hmm.
because Florida got rid of the tax incentive that allowed for movies to come and be there and shows. So back when they had it, that's when you had shows like Miami Vice coming out or Burn Notice, and all the big Miami movies were out there, and people were like, "Wow, Miami!"
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
it's we don't have that allure anymore because we lost that.
Yeah, yeah, but
Lost.
unfortunately, like yeah, tax incentives are big for mu movie productions, aren't they? If there's
Absolutely.
none, we're not shooting there. Like, we're changing.
Yeah. So today, I don't, if you ever notice like some of the settings of a lot of locations, you'd be like, oh, that's a different or weird random location or a setting for a movie to be in, but it works. They make it work. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's just because of the tax incentives
Hmm.
that they're shot there or being done there.
Like most of
It's like,
Marvel
yeah,
is
this
like
movie could be made
Georgia.
anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like most of Marvel is like Georgia exclusive. Like, you can always see like, Georgia, Georgia at the end of the credits. And I'm like, yeah, because
Yeah.
Georgia still has those like tax incentives. So
Hmm.
many, and not just Marvel, but I know many productions often clash in Georgia. So like, this movie is made there and on a couple of miles down the road there's another movie being made right now, and it's like, okay. So,
Yeah. And New Mexico too
yep.
is another one. So like,
Hmm.
Breaking Bad, for
Yep.
example, it was shot there for a long time, and I've shot a couple of movies, a few movies out there in New Mexico, and
Hmm.
there's not a lot out there. I mean, it's a lot of desert and canyon and mountainous areas, and a lot of the reservations, the Native American reservations, which I've shot on, and it's
Hmm.
cool and great people. But it's like we would never have really shot there had it not been for these tax incentives
Yeah.
out in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. But they have it, and we come and we spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on these locations, and that money goes to the people, back to the people in the area. So there's
Hmm.
definitely benefit to it.
No, yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah,
So
I'm
what is
working on
your
doing the same here,
okay?
for where I'm at in the Midwest.
Hmm.
So I live in a place that's right next to Omaha, Nebraska. I'm in
Okay.
Iowa, Council
Yeah.
Bluffs, Iowa, and I live 15 minutes from Omaha, Nebraska, which is the bigger city.
Hmm.
So I'm working on making movies with Nebraska and Iowa and
Hmm.
one in their tax incentives and grants and bringing movie production here. So working on it. We're getting there.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah,
that is
it's fun.
that is very good. So you mentioned a couple of locations already. So I'm
Mhm.
guessing like I'll ask you a cliche and question. Which one was your favorite so far? Like, you actually had to travel, but you had a blast.
Ooh, of movie locations, it's between Las Vegas or New Mexico, but they
Okay.
were both very different things and both very different reasons.
Hmm.
The New Mexico one that I did is Canyon of the Dead, or I think it might be ended up calling the Canyon. I don't know. We're gonna find out, but we're in talks on the big distribution right now for that film.
Hmm.
But we shot that film. It's starring Tom Felton, Wes Studi, Abigail Breslin, Finn Jones, and then I'm in it a little bit, a tiny bit.
Nice.
But um, we actually were shooting on the Navajo reservation, and it was a time period piece of the 1920s. referring to the first female archaeologist and her husband, who was like the real life Indiana Jones, who Indiana Jones was based on. So while we were out there, we had a lot of Native American stories involved because they're discovering the first nation of America, the
Hmm.
Anasazi population, to get back. But while we were out there, we're working and filming on the Navajo reservation, and we had a lot of the Navajo guys on board on set working with us as actors, and I had a great time getting to know these guys. We were shooting out in the canyons every day, so my office was just gigantic, beautiful scenery and locations, working with amazing people. And it was great to get out because it was during COVID, actually. So we started
Ah.
shooting 2020,
Hmm.
had to take breaks and shoot 2021, and then
Hmm.
ended up shooting again in London in 2022, which was
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, it was nuts. It was crazy stuff. So there was that. There was like the aspect of beauty and great people to be around, and that was great. But then on the other side, there was a movie I shot around Las Vegas
Hmm.
that I loved. It was called Mojave Diamonds, and I got to act along next to a guy named Cowboy Cerrone, Chael Sonnen, and Rampage Jackson. If you know those, they're like famous MMA guys.
I know
But in
Rampage,
one of
yeah.
this, yeah, he's a crazy guy. He's a
Hmm.
funny guy. But one of the things we got to do is have a car chase
Hmm.
out in the desert. Of we were where I'm hanging out the window and like shooting the gun. Not really, we were just
Yeah.
pretending. But we were still actually doing the car chase and like whipping it around on the back desert roads, and I love that and that scenery and being able to do that and then being in Vegas and doing all the crazy Vegas things that we were doing for the movie was a great time. So those
That.
were two of my favorite
Hmm.
places that were very different. If
That
yeah,
sounds again. That sounds awesome. Like it seems like you are living your dream, and kudos to you. Like very good.
so living the dream,
Yeah. Before we move
finding
on,
out.
yeah. Before we move on, one last question about this. You mentioned you worked with Michael Bay on a commercial. So I've
Mhm.
heard quite a few stories about Michael Bay. Is he, I'm gonna ask one simple question. Is he as intense as many stories led me to believe, lead me to believe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Hmm.
So he's very what I saw was very bipolar on set.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I don't know if you're messing up, he will let you know,
Hmm.
not nicely.
Hmm.
But if you're doing great and you're doing a good job, he's super nice and great. But it was very interesting to watch him work and to see what he was doing. And it was like very night and day, very, one would say, like I said, bipolar.
Hmm.
He treated the cast and everybody on set really nice and respectfully. But if people were messing up, like I said, he'll let you know. So, for example, there was like a crew member who was putting C stands in like where we were about to be shooting,
Hmm.
like on the film set. You're supposed to have them, offset. They're not supposed to be on a camera, and he puts them right on the like into where the shot is about to be,
Okay.
right where we're shooting, and he like starts storing them there, like he doesn't realize that we're about to be shooting there or something. So
Hmm.
it's like kind of dumb, but it was interesting because Michael Bay was talking to the actors, and then he saw that happen. So the situation, he's talking to the actors, like, "Hey guys, so did you have like a good lunch and everything is good? Are we happy? We're feeling good today." And then he sees that that's happening. He goes, "Hey, hold on 1 second. Those fucking stands of you damn shit! We're getting out of here." And then he would turn right back to us and be like, "So anyway, guys, what we're gonna have you do is like go right back to work and do these things, okay? How's that sound? Cool.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. Get off my goddamn shit." So anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get right. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Okay, all right. It's so this is Michael Baytown. Let's do it." I was like, I get it. I right. Nobody messed up after that, I will say.
That kind of tracks with all the stories or most stories I've heard about him. Yeah, I kind of tracks. And his movies kind of definitely have that energy. I will say that.
Yeah. It very explosive energy, you could say.
Correct. Very
Yeah.
explosive.
But hey man, the guy is like one of the most commercially successful, arguably the most commercially successful director of all time,
Hmm.
I think, by the box office.
Hmm.
Critics hate his stuff. It's like, oh, okay, what are we gonna have today? An explosion? Wow, what a surprise. But it
Hmm.
works. Explosions, guns, hot babes. Let's go. That's as American as you can get.
I was gonna say, Michael Bay just knows what, your stereotypical American really wants to see on a screen.
And it works.
And
And people hate him for it. Film buffs hate him for it, and
mhm.
critics hate him. He's people are one way or another on him, but the box office doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie, you know.
I really don't mind him. Like I actually really like quite a few of his movies, especially in the 90s. Like, one of the classics of the genre is The Rock. With Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Like, that's a movie that's just 2 hour
Or
of like adrenaline and goes, you know.
yeah.
And I cannot see anybody else, maybe like Tony Scott at the time, doing that. Like and then making that same movie with having the same effect. So, and where else will you see Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery?
Connery.
Bro,
I don't
oh,
know, man. I don't know. Does it? Is there other Nick Cage
I,
and Sean
nope.
Connery movie?
I don't
No.
think that. I think that's the only one.
I trust your judgment. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I could see it happening, but
Hmm.
maybe not. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's Michael Bay for you.
No, yeah. I appreciate you
Nonstop.
sharing that story. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I
Yeah, of course. No problem. It's
I
fun.
think
It
I
was a
think
great
with
experience.
hmm no, it sounds like it. It sounds definitely sounds like it. I think with that we can move to the this or that part of the show where I'll ask you or I'll give you two choices and you tell me which one would you prefer and why. So,
Okay.
Chris, TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
Oh, why?
I like to have stuff that I can be invested
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in. And arguably some of my favorite movies, we'll be getting to this later, are really movies that are in trilogies,
I see.
or the longer form, and it's stuff that you can be invested in and more involved with as opposed to movies, which I love making. I love
Mm-hmm.
making films a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, movies are like a one night stand. You just get like a boom hour and a half or 2 hours, and then you're
In
done.
and out. Yeah.
But yeah, which is great. There are
Mm-hmm.
plenty of whatever you want to call it, great memories, great movies that you love that are just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but the shows I can really get into them, like Game of Thrones, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm watching House of Cards again.
Nice.
Um, or there's an animation one called Archer that I love, and I just
Archer is awesome.
yeah, great, awesome, funny stuff. And so I can just stuff that you can turn on and watch and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have many movies like that for
Oh,
myself.
yeah, that's
How about
that's fair.
yourself? Are you
I'm
series or movies? Movies.
I think movies, yeah. Like I love me some TV shows, don't get me wrong, and I try to watch as many as I can, but like I am behind because I watch so many movies. So, yeah, it
It's good.
just, you know. But yeah, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Nice. What is your order?
Yeah, nice. My order, so I'm weird. I do
Okay.
coffee. I make my own coffee.
Okay.
I like to get the nice beans. I'll crush them up and do the thing. I'll do that, and then I'll put honey in it, and I'll even put butter into it.
Ah, I've heard of
Grass-fed
that.
butter.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird. Everything I do, a lot of things I do is really weird. People are like,
Hmm.
that's so weird. And then people try it and they're like, okay, all right. That's
So
true.
when you're at home, what's your, do you just have like a coffee machine or do you have a preferred brewing method for coffee?
I have a coffee machine. It's good. I've done the
Okay.
whole French press thing
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
stuff. And honestly, I just like a drip coffee. It works. It does the job. I make
Fair.
it to the right amount of strength that I
Hmm.
like.
Hmm.
It's good. How about
Yeah.
yourself? Tea or coffee? What are we doing?
Coffee. Yeah, no, I'm a coffee guy. I got into coffee during the pandemic and discovered
Mm,
specialty coffee. And yeah, one thing led to another. And yeah, like a drip.
specialty coffee. What is specialty coffee?
Like, I like my beans light roasted, as opposed to like most coffee shops use like medium to dark roast because they are like more palatable for many people. Like, they taste like chocolate or a hazelnut and all that. And for me, I prefer the like slightly bitter, sour, like lemony, grapey kind of
Mm.
coffees, like from like Ethiopia, Kenya, Brazil. Oh yeah, so but I'm kind of like you. I have my own coffee grinder at home, so I always buy some nice beans, and I just crush them up myself, and I just make a pour over, like yeah, or like a AeroPress, and yeah, I'm just chilling with
Gotcha.
my
So you like
coffee.
a nice blonde roast. You know, the light roasted actually has more caffeine than the dark roasted.
Y- uh, To
People
an
will think
extent,
it's the
yes.
other way around.
To an extent,
Well,
yes. I've seen a video about
because
it.
the
That's like
yeah,
it basically goes very nitty gritty into the science of that, and it's like yes, but not all the time. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
sure. The idea is like it because a dark roast is you just roast it longer and it roasts out the
Mm-hmm.
caffeinated properties is the
Mm-hmm.
only reason.
Yeah.
So I've tested it. It's true, but I personally like the coffee with the taste, the darker roast, so I can have the taste and flavor
Mm-hmm.
while being able to drink more of it without being too
Yeah. Too
uh
jittery. Yeah.
that's how I'm already getting there. Already on the podcast.
Ah,
Oh, sorry, bud.
all good. All good. Money or free time?
Money, because money will buy free time. No, I like myself free time so I can play video games,
Mm-hmm.
try to watch some movies and shows.
Yeah.
But
Get it.
to me, I would say, money is time. Time is money.
Yep.
So
No, yeah. Yeah. I get it. They did a movie about it. It wasn't that good, but yeah, I had a good concept. Yeah.
what was the movie?
In Time with
In
Justin
Time?
Timberlake. Yeah.
Oh
2011.
yeah. I
I
liked it. They missed the perfect opportunity to say just in time.
that is, yeah.
I remember that. It's a good movie. I like the concept. I
Yeah,
actually
the
like that.
concept was great. I thought the execution was slightly not as great as the concept, but I only watched it once. So it's been since it came out, which is 2011. So yeah, I don't remember much, but I remember I'm like, yeah, this
It's one of
movie.
those movies that stuck with me for some reason. I don't
Hmm.
know why. But I
Hmm.
think it was more because of the concept and things. I like concepts. So
No, the concept is great. Honestly, it's great, and I can imagine that into being like a great TV show nowadays. Because I think definitely nowadays that concept would be turned into like 6 to 8 part TV
write this
show.
down, write this down. Actually, that's genius. Honestly, yeah,
Hmm.
the concept of that could be an awesome show because everybody in the show has to deal with the time, and time
Hmm.
is, everybody can relate to having time or not having time.
Hmm.
And
And when the time
yeah,
is actual currency in that world, and every time
yeah,
you pay, you can see how much, less of a time you have left. It is kind of, frightening.
yeah. And the slogan could be "Time is money" because it is in this. It literally is.
This
What would the title be?
this
We're
TV
making the
show is
show right
writing
now.
itself. I was gonna say this,
Yeah,
it's writing itself, like, effortless. Is this how writers feel all the
pitching.
time? Effortless.
You got to cut all this out before somebody steals the idea,
Copyrighted, patented, it's all ours. No, no, no. It's all
or
ours.
just hit me up and we'll all work on this together. We'll make it a collaborative effort in making this TV show happen.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Honesty or other people's feelings?
Ooh, it always depends on who.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it's somebody close to me, I'm gonna be honest to an extent. It always depends on the situation. So
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that I will always be very honest with people about and my friends and all this sort of stuff. And other people, if I just am like, I don't care about your time, I'll just be like, sure, bud, cool, love that for you. But I'll be pretty honest with my friends, and they can hate me sometimes for it.
You know
But
what's
they can never say that I was wrong. They never they
you know
can
what's
say,
funny?
Chris, you're a jerk, but they won't call me a liar.
I was gonna say,
They'll
yep,
always come back later. You were right.
yep.
I know, bud. I know.
You know what's funny?
Keep
I'm
honesty.
exactly the same. Like if I consider you a friend or like a family member, I'll be honest, and sometimes to a fault, and I am working on that. But if I'm kind of like exactly like you, but if it's like a coworker or
Mhm.
somebody like I don't really hang around outside of like this specific occasion or whatever, or if I just met you, I'm not gonna be like brutally honest because I'm like, you know what, we're not that close, so whatever, yeah, yeah.
So you have more of the tough love approach.
Not a tough love, but I always would rather like I like to be treated the same way. So I treat people the way I want to be treated. And I can always tell when somebody's about to deliver a bad news or wants to tell me something that's not pleasant. And I would much rather just, okay, let's not beat around the bush. Just hit me with it. I can tell something is bothering you. Let's not, tiptoe against around this issue. Let's just give it to me straight. I'm an adult. You're an adult. Let's talk like adults. That's all.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally prefer when people are like, "Hey, Chris, so this thing, you did that. I hated it, didn't like it." And I'd be like, "Well, too bad."
Too bad. I'm
Or,
doing it again.
"Yeah, I'm gonna do it again." I'd be like, "Well, that's something either I can work on or not."
Hmm.
Thank you for the TED Talk.
Summer or winter?
Summer. Uh, I'm in the Midwest. I like both.
I was gonna say,
So
so in the Midwest,
I
because
do like
obviously Miami summer, I know it's famously hot because that's why people love Miami. But
it.
how does like summer look like in where you are?
A summer in Iowa is very hot. We have Iowa, where I'm at, is we experience all of the seasons perfectly.
Nice.
Like we have hot summers, beautiful, cool, breezy falls, and all the beautiful color changes in the leaves.
Hmm.
We have crazy winters. Like literally 2 days ago, we had a blizzard come through, but now it's already sunny and
Hmm.
turning into sort of a spring. So I love both. So because it's just like life, it's that, life and death, the dark and the light, and
Hmm.
you can't appreciate, the light without a bit of darkness, or you appreciate the summer more with having a cold winter, if that makes sense to you.
It does,
So
yeah.
when I'm here in the winter, I love being able to have excuses to cuddle up under the big comfy blankets and be like, all right, we're not going anywhere for a couple of days because we're snowed in,
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
fat and sassy. But then after that, I love to go to Miami and be like, sweet, I'm at the beach, the shirts off, sunshine.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the same reason I'm an actor, so I can live all these different lives. So
I get
so
it.
there's that. But if I had
Yeah.
to be stuck in one all the time,
Hmm.
it would be summer
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. No.
Forever
Same.
summer over, forever winter. How
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
yourself? Same?
Yeah. No. Same. Like I prefer warmer rather than colder, which is funny because I live in Scotland, which is mostly cold. So,
Yeah, dude.
I've chosen wrong yet again. Oh well.
You get like 5 days of sunshine there, maybe, right?
Hey. Last year we had six. Ooh.
My whoa, my bad. I will chill out with that.
No, to be
Sure.
honest about this, over the last, I would say 6 years or so, I've been here for now 14. This is my 14th year here, and over the last like six, it's getting warmer and warmer, and it's kind
Mhm.
of unsettling because people here are not used to that. So it's like, we're always suspicious, like where I live. When you have a nice day, you're always suspicious of what's coming next. Because it's like, it's very rare still to have a week where it's like proper nice sunny every single day of the week. And then you always get a bit like, almost paranoid. It's like, what is coming? Like, when is this gonna stop? Because we both know it's gonna stop. When is that point?
I get it. There's a name for this. Like
Hmm.
I forgot what it's called, but it's like they call it a psychiatric condition, not a condition, but
Hmm.
people who have kind of a fear of happiness because happiness often is followed by something
Hmm.
very unhappy, like what and there's an actual term for this. I just can't think of
Hmm.
it or remember what it's called.
To be fair, this
But
is purely weather related because again, like Scotland, even the summer is
sure,
just like you have
yeah,
few nice days and then you have a week or two that's absolute shite. And I'm like, all right, that's a nice summer. And then it's back, nice again, nice sunny again. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool if it was like that all the time. And it goes shite again. I'm like, oh well.
I appreciate the Scottish shite is
Oh
coming up
yeah.
on you. You can
Oh
use that.
I. Oh
It's
I.
fun.
Oh I.
Oh,
I be
shite.
lassie. Yeah, it's
Isn't the Scottish accent the farther north like really difficult to understand for most English speakers?
it
How do you get
is.
along there?
It
Because I mean, even learning with Czech is your first
Yes.
language there.
Hmm.
So coming into that English, that very deep accent,
Hmm.
how is that? That can't be easy.
For me, it wasn't as bad because I learned English mostly through movies and TV shows listening, right? So I watched a lot of movies and I actually paid attention. So that's how I got my vocabulary, and that's how, listened to many accents. So for me, the Scottish accent wasn't as hard. There are definitely people like Czech people who came with me that struggled. They couldn't understand people around, and I was like, but they speak clearly. Like, what are you talking about? But if you
Yeah.
meet like a native speaker who would talk like there's like a you know there's a Doric language, there is a Gaelic language, and that's its own thing. That's like the words sound English, but they're not, and that's proper tough. Especially like the and general rule of thumb, it's kind of like in America. I'm guessing, the older person is, the harder the accent is. So if you're talking to like an 80-year-old, grandpa or a grandma, sometimes like that's not English. No, I know English. That's not English. What, like slow the fuck down. I cannot understand you.
There's a funny video that I think about there where there's like a lady
Hmm.
who goes to Scotland and is referring, she's like an American lady. She's like, and the Scotland, some of these places, especially in small towns, and this place particularly, is known for its very difficult Scottish accent. And she like randomly stops an old guy on the
Hmm.
street, old Scottish guy, and she's like, well, sir, this part of area of Scotland is very difficult for its accent. Could you express like a little bit of something in the accent? And he just goes like, you know what I mean? And
That's
the
that's how
only
they
thing that
sound.
people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The
Can
only
you
thing
mean?
people understood was that.
Yeah.
And even she was like, what? He's like, you don't understand anything, but
And
nobody.
what's funny is, like, even certain Scottish people sometimes cannot understand, like, some other accents, like Scottish accents. So it's not just us foreigners. It's like, like people that actually grew up here, but in a different part. And then when they move to it, like, oh yeah, I just moved to East or West. And suddenly it's like, oh, what? What did you say? What? What is that? What is that word? Oh, okay. And it takes them a while to adjust.
Isn't that something? Isn't there something similar or relative in the Czech Republic there and where you're from? Like from town to town, they each,
No, we have
at one point, they
accents.
had
Yeah,
different
yeah.
accents within.
Like where I'm from, the
Yeah.
region I'm from, we talk short. We talk fast, short. People in Prague, from Prague, we always laugh at them because they talk very long. And like, like basically, so there's like a, like a fight we have with people from Prague. But like accent wise, we also have our own like slang in a second biggest city, but that's again totally its own thing. So like if somebody talks to me in that slang, I have no idea what they're saying. I know certain words in that slang. I don't, but if I had a conversation with a native person from that city using that slang, I would be lost. And I'm Czech. So yeah.
Sure, there you go. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
good to know. I won't even attempt while there if I go back.
No,
I'd
it's
like to go
Czech is hard, and trust me, and it's not worth the effort for you to learn it. Only about 11 million people worldwide speak the language. Nah.
more people than I know.
Yeah, but I think you're more, like you're better off learning Spanish or French or Chinese or Indian, really. Just like any of those like languages that are actual hundreds of millions of people talk.
Well, I
Yeah.
learned three of those,
Oh,
not
really?
the yeah, but not no Indian
Okay. So you
because
talk
my
Spanish and
Miami,
French?
well, Miami, everybody is Spanish. I'm actually
Yes.
a minority in Miami because 85% of the population is Spanish. So
Hmm.
I've had to learn Spanish for a lot of that reason. And I studied French for years
Hmm.
and traveled the world with it for a while too, because I was like kind of getting into politics for a while and like the
Oh.
UN stuff. Yeah, a while back. And then I actually had a scholarship to study abroad in China for a semester. So I was studying Chinese and business and economics out there. So,
Do you still
but
remember
I barely
any?
speak any of those.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, some like enough to. order beer and order some drinks and
Yeah.
have like a small chat about names or where you're from, what you do. Just the
Hmm.
basics, the conversations.
No, yeah, like language is as, it's as will stay with you as much as you use it. That's the problem with languages. Like you can learn
You don't
it.
use it, you lose
Correct. Like I was fluent
it.
in German. Like 14 years ago, I was pretty fluent in German, but now since I've moved to Scotland, I haven't really used any German. So it's
Yeah.
pretty much all forgotten it, you know. It's like it's still someplace there, and I think if I were to go to Germany, it would probably something would have resurfaced. But now, yeah, I think I would be quite lost. I'll be
Interesting.
honest. Yeah. So last question, free will or
Hmm.
destiny?
Who knows? You have free will, but it always leads to your destiny.
Ah, so you're one of those like half and half. So like your life is you believe that your life is predestined to for a majority, but you do have a free will to skew from the path, but eventually you will end up where you were supposed to have ended up anyway.
Probably. I feel like that's a lot of people meet their fate by trying to avoid it. I've seen those
Hmm.
things, such things.
People meet their fate by trying to avoid it. Interesting. Okay. I never heard it phrased like that. I like it.
It's inevitable. I always think about there was a story about a guy
Hmm.
who he had his fortune told, and apparently it's a true story, um, about how he was going to die.
Hmm.
And he was told that he was going to be crushed to death. And so he was very scared about that. And after some time, he ended up locking himself inside in his room,
Hmm.
in his library. And eventually he was living out of his, you know, in his place and he had his library there. And eventually something happened where one of the bookcases fell over and all of his books crushed him to death
I
because he was
see.
trying to hide from the world
Yeah.
because he didn't want to get crushed to death. That's the long and short of it. But I
Okay.
don't know. It's a pretty good, causal determination or not.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
I
Fair.
think we won't know till we're dead. Who knows?
Yeah, and even then, if many people are wrong, they will never know. If they are right, they will know instantly. Their preferred deity will show up and guide them to their destination. And if they are wrong, they will never know. That's, yeah, that's pretty much it, really, isn't it?
We'll find out. How about you? What
Correct.
do you think?
I come from an atheist country, so like I think we have a free will. I don't think we have a destiny per se. So yeah, I'm not very like I'm not one of those. I'm a wait. How is this? What's the saying? I'm not religious, but I'm a What's that joke? It's kind of like popular in America. It's like I'm not religious, but and there's always like I believe in this. Nah, it's fine. Like
I'm
let's
not religious, but I do like pickles on my hamburger. Totally unrelated, but okay.
yeah. No, it's
That's
like
how I see a lot of those things.
there wasn't even a Family Guy joke. It was like, what about where do people who say this stuff go? They go to, and then he's talking to God. They go to hell, to the deepest pits of hell. I'm like, oh, that makes me happy. And that was the joke. It's like because the people is like, I'm not religious, but I am this, and I cannot remember the phrase, and I'm very mad at myself. So
Not
yeah.
religious, but certain types of people who do certain types of things belong in hell.
No, I'm
Is that where you're going
spiritual.
with that?
I'm spiritual. That's the word. So yeah, I don't believe in that even. I'm not one of those. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I believe in ghosts, and I don't. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. Like it's just who I am. And yeah, I'm not spiritual. I know that was the joke from Family Guy. It's like, so God, what happens to people who are not religious? And they do they go to heaven? If they're good, yeah. What about those people say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual? No, they go to hell, straight to the deepest pits of hell. Oh, that makes me happy. And it's just like that's a Sid MacFarlane in a nutshell. That's his kind of style.
I get it. Personally,
Hmm.
on that topic, I mean, I would say I practice a
Hmm.
religion, but
Hmm.
I would also say I am a spiritual person as well.
Yeah.
I personally believe that they are two separate things because
Hmm.
to me, a religion is like a foundation. How do you say? Uh, like it's an establishment of something,
Of like
a
beliefs.
collective. It's not even necessarily belief, but it's like a system. What's the term for that? I can't think of the proper term,
Hmm.
but it's It's a foundation and
Oh, like
like
principle, like principles.
no, it's not even principle. A
Okay.
religious, because it's like religious establishments
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
establishment. It's an establishment, like you would say a school or something
Like
that
core
is a
values.
collect. No,
Okay.
not that. It's what would you say like a school is? It's something like a school, where it's putting all the stuff and they have their particular
Mm-hmm.
rules and it's a practice in a collective practice. But spirituality to me is an individual's relationship to
Mm-hmm.
God, universe, the great beyond, the flying spaghetti monster, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's one individual's feeling or belief in that sort of way in their connection to the source, as you
Yeah.
want to call it, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what you believe. Um, and that is separate from religion. Religion is a practice,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, of forms of spirituality or forms of spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not itself spiritual, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I think
I'm
I
bad at
think
describing.
no,
Yeah,
no, no. I think I get you. I think like so you're not really hanged up on the like a religion part of it. It's the spirituality is your kind of way into your religion, like how you choose to practice your religion.
sure. Or one into the other. But yeah,
Hmm.
religion is more of a practice. Spirituality is more of a, I don't know,
Like way of life.
I don't even know how to describe it.
Okay.
I'm terrible.
I'm trying to help, but
So
also obviously like I'm not really helping. So
I know I can't. I'll think of it after. I'll come up with the proper way to do it after the
it's always
after
like
the
that. It's like, you're
yeah.
missing that one word and you're like, oh, I cannot think of it right now. And like 2 hours later, once we're done, it's like, that was the word. Fuck's sake.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no.
what's gonna happen.
Happens to me all the time, man. It's just, yeah, I feel you. So
Sure.
before we move to the flicks part of the podcast, do you have any hot takes or controversial opinions you would like to share with us?
Well, I guess that was it right there.
Oh,
I
really?
do not believe that religion and spirituality are the same in there.
Well, they are
So
not. That yeah, they are not. Like I think many people, I think even the Family Guy joke kind of basically says that. Basically, I think many people, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying many people, that the joke is about who don't want to be stereotypical. So they're trying
mm,
to be like a hip and they tell you, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. So they don't want
oh,
to be like tied into like one religion. So they take the best bits out of this religion, this religion, this religion, this religion, and or like,
mm,
or I believe in I live as a witch or whatever. Like I don't know what people do. But like, and so they kind of like cherry pick the best parts without committing to one certain thing. And I think that the joke is more about those people like, yeah, I'm not really, but, and it's like, long-winded way of them saying, so I still believe in a God, but I don't want to say I'm religious because I know it can have, or not has, but it can have negative connotation.
sure. I get it.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That I believe you can believe in God and be spiritual, but you don't. You can practice religion but not be spiritual person, or you can be a spiritual person and not believe in religion. That's
How
what I
would
believe.
it,
That's my controversy.
how would that work? Okay, let me ask you that. How would that work if you're spiritual but not practicing a religion?
Because religions are particular establishments. For
Hmm.
example, there's Christianity,
Yep.
Islam,
Hmm.
Hinduism,
Hmm.
Judaism. These are different practices and they are practices of spirituality,
Hmm.
but they themselves are not, while they are practices of spiritual rituals or supposed to be spiritual purposes, there are
Hmm.
plenty of religious people who practice but are not spiritual. They like try to seem this way or they appear this way, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
Um, or who use religion as a facade
Yeah.
to but they are clearly not people who are in touch with any of that. Yet there are people who are very spiritual who are in touch with, more in touch with God. Like you can say God, or like I said, you can say the universe or whatever you want to use.
Hmm.
Um, to me, it's a blanket, something of the great beyond oneself. That energy, in this way, we'll use the God as a term to describe this
Hmm.
universal energy that most people know and come to understand.
Hmm.
And out of these understandings, people create religions, but to me, they are not one and the same.
Okay.
It's difficult to understand. I don't know. I'm not describing it the best.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because religions are particular teachings and traditions and practices that are handed down over time.
Yeah.
And because of the way humans are, humans can corrupt things over time.
Hmm.
Or if you've ever played the game of telephone,
Yeah.
have you ever heard of? Yeah. So that's what I see a lot of things that happen in religion over time, and even with particular religious texts, they get changed over time
Hmm.
through different translations, even if it's little by little over the course of 1,000 years, hundreds of years, you'd be changed to fit particular groups of people's purpose and stray away from what the original feeling and intent was.
Hmm.
And to me, all these different religions try to simply view from our very limited human experience and view of God or of that spiritual
Hmm.
experience that people have. And then they try to pass it down, tradition, and it can be down there. So
Yes.
that's my controversial take. Yeah, that's
Yeah. So
very
for
much.
you, it's not really about like, let's say a Bible or or going to church every Sunday. For you, it's about your own journey and your own relationship with a God you believe in.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do both. I go to church every Sunday. I'm active in it,
Hmm.
but I believe, I like it because of my tradition. It's how I grew up. I like
Hmm.
members of my church, and the community is great.
Hmm.
Um, if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't go to other churches in Europe. I do. I like the European churches, old cathedrals and stuff.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I will still practice like my own forms of meditation and try practices from other places that are passed down or around for whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sacrificing babies or anything,
No, of course not.
but yet, no guarantees.
Well, you're not that high up in Hollywood yet, so like, and
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Maybe we'll see how many dollar signs it takes.
I know, right?
Yes. So yeah, we went off on a big tangent on that. So that's my
No,
controversial take.
I, I
Um,
like it. I like it. No, no,
I
no.
just I just wish I could put it in a more
Eloquent way.
succinct and better
Yeah.
description. I wasn't expecting to talk about this on a movie podcast.
Not
But
hey,
does what I'm saying make sense?
yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I think I get you. I think I get you. I think I get you. And again, like I'll always say, despite me being an atheist, I don't have a
Hmm.
problem with people who believe in this God, this God, this God. And again, like because I understand, hey, if that's what helps you, and that's what like makes you, in your mind at least, like a better person, great. And I always like I'm fascinated with the why behind it. Like why do you believe in this God and not that one? Or why, this religion and not this one? But again, like, that, so that to me, that's more interesting question. But yeah,
Sure.
no.
No, I agree with that totally. But to me,
Hmm.
I believe that all these different religions are essentially looking at the same thing,
Hmm.
just through different experiences, and they describe it differently.
Correct.
So a rose by any other name is still a rose.
I've had that
And
argument with a hardcore Christian as well, like a very hardcore Christian, and I said like many, like if you really look at it, many religions from all over the world are effectively talking about one or not one thing, but like the same core ideas. And one of the main core ideas is you should be a good person, you should treat
mm,
others well, and really, that's about it. And then they have different ways how to go about it. Yeah, of course. There's like
mm,
different little details, as you said. Like if you read Bible, it gives you one thing. If you read Quran, it gives you a different thing. If you read what Buddha is talking about, you obviously lead a different life. So the details are totally different, but the core ideas to better yourself, to be better to others, to live a meaningful life. They are all kind of there.
yeah, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself.
Correct. Correct.
That's what most of those things end up winding down to.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are great.
Hmm. Agreed?
So anyway, you want to talk about movies?
I was gonna say, yeah, let's move to the Flick Spotter podcast, where
You
I'll ask
probably
you.
lost all your followers. You're probably banned in several countries now, canceled,
Nah,
and because you
nah,
talked about
it's
that.
all good. It's all good. Now, so this is the part I'll ask you. Excuse me, Chris. What is the last new movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything 2020s.
2020s. Oh, I had it. I knew totally. I looked it up just to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look up. I was like, because I feel like nothing good has come out lately,
Mm-hmm.
but there's got to be something out there, right? Wouldn't you say?
There's so many. Like again,
Yeah.
but you did mention, I think it was off the mic before we started, you don't really have much time to watch movies, so I understand. But there's
Yeah,
like last couple of years, great many movies.
yeah, this is true. There was a movie that came out that I thought was pretty good,
Hmm.
and I was just trying to look it up. I had it down.
Hmm.
I would say 5 out of 5. What was yours in the
Well,
past 5 years?
I mean, the last one I've watched, I really enjoyed, probably would be Anora, the Best Picture winner.
You
So
think so?
I managed to catch it in the cinemas because my cinema also did the thing that Americans do all the time, where once we have their nominated pictures, actual like nominations were out, they got most of those pictures back for like a couple of days. So I managed to catch it on a big screen because I didn't catch it back in November, and I thought it was great. I was surprised when Mikey Madison won the Oscar instead of Demi Moore because I am a big fan of the Substance.
Mm,
But I'm not mad about it. She was awesome. And I thought it was a coin flip between those two, really. And I knew that. So, but it's kind of funny how that's literally the plot of The Substance, where the younger, more attractive girl edges out the older, more experienced woman. I'm like, The Substance, yeah, that's kind of meta.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't watch either of them. Uh,
that's fine.
I was even at Cannes and stuff, and I didn't even hear about Honora until after
Hmm.
Cannes and everything like this. And I was like, this movie doesn't seem appealing at all
Hmm.
to me. And then afterward, I realized I think there was a recent study done on like a survey of a couple thousand people who have gone to the movie theaters,
Hmm.
and it's like 85% of the people who went to the theaters only saw one movie,
Hmm.
and 85% of those people did not watch any of the Oscar nominated like movies like that.
Hmm.
So it's like people kind of back to what we were talking about, Michael Bay. It's like
Yeah.
to me, especially as a filmmaker and stuff, I want to be in movies that I want to see and things. And the movies lately that have just been coming out are just kind of out of touch with people
Okay.
like myself, like in the Midwest. I was talking about the Midwestern people
Hmm.
are very representative of majority of America.
Hmm.
And the director of Honora even was saying, hey, go to the theater, support indie film
Yeah.
and all these things. But there are no movies that like people, average regular people want to see. And then I also realized that Honora,
Hmm.
their production budget was $6 million, but their marketing budget was $16 million.
Oh.
So what they were doing was they were sending all these personal private things to all of these Academy Award win or the Academy
Hmm.
members
Hmm.
and all these people to like essentially kind of like
Well, but isn't that how the game is
bribing
played?
people and things. It's the game. And it's
Yeah.
kind of as a filmmaker,
Hmm.
it sucks. And it
Hmm.
sucks to see because there are amazing, talented people out there who are doing real stuff,
Hmm.
who are making things that people would want to see, but because they don't have a 10, 15, $20 million budget to market their film
Hmm.
and to get in with all these different people, these movies are never seen. And I'm not saying that's any movies that I've done recently. I know the quality of, I'm doing fun stuff and it's
Hmm.
cool, but we want to be doing really cool stuff.
Hmm.
But it's hard. And then especially you're seeing all these kind of remakes and
Hmm.
stuff that are not that original or
Okay.
pushing a particular agenda that a lot of these things have. And
Yeah.
it's,
So did you
I don't
manage to
know.
find did you manage to find the one you thought it was actually really good in the last
I did.
from the last couple of years?
From the last, I would say all is quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, all quite, yeah, yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
say that one or 1917.
Mm-hmm.
I would say those war movies, but I dug them. I thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. All quite on Western Front. Have you read the book?
I did not. I did not read it,
That's one of
but now I want
the
to.
that's one of the rare
Yeah.
cases I actually read the book because of the high school. We had like a
Hmm.
reading list for, to pass like a Czech exam, and there were like
Yeah.
20 books you kind of had to read, and then you would pick one and make it like, talk about it during like this big, exam. And yeah, one of them was that, and I thought that even the book was great. And yeah, the latest movie, it was a Netflix movie that did very well at the Oscars. Speaking of the Oscars, that also did quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. But that was one of those things. It's like, well, you can't not because I mean, it's huge. There's a huge
Hmm.
undertaking that they did for that. And it's based off of a great work already, a great book. So, I
Hmm.
mean, they had already IP and a built-in audience with it.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
I mean, and they did a good job on making that film.
And the same director just made also another Oscar-nominated movie, The Conclave, which is awesome. That that I would recommend. Speaking of movies that talk about faith and like whether it's still needed. It's a literally a conclave where Pope dies and they need to elect a new one, and might be a conspiracy
Mm-hmm.
involved. But the way that movie talks about faith intelligently, it doesn't matter if you're atheist like me or faith person like yourself. I think you would also enjoy it because it talks about faith in a very intelligent way.
Interesting.
And I thought it was a very well made movie.
Yeah, I've seen ads, but once again, I'm so bad at watching movies.
Well, you're
Anything recent, I'm so bad at watching, and it's so bad because I have to keep up with
you're
those
making
things.
them. Of course, like you're making movies. Of course, you don't have time to watch them.
Trying to make movies is hard, man. It's not
Yep,
easy.
I, I I believe you. I was gonna say like I know, but I don't. I never made a movie, but I believe you.
Yeah.
It's a hard life.
The easy part is the production. The getting everything into production is hard. Raising the
Hmm.
money for it, raising the financing, getting, actors attached, getting this,
Hmm.
the ducks in the row, as they say.
Hmm.
It's hard stuff. It's hard stuff, bro.
Oh, I believe it. I just read stories of like, the people who succeed, and then they talk about, oh yeah, I haven't made any money out of this Oscar-nominated movie. Just
Yeah.
Brady Corbet, the director of Brutalist, fast,
Yeah.
great movie, and he openly talks about how he literally made no money off of the movie that was Best Picture, Best Director nominated movie, and that seems wrong. That's just yeah.
It's true. Yeah. And I believe it. And I get it.
Hmm.
People talk about the starving artist, and there are great actors out there. I forgot who the actor was, but very recognizable actor. He's like, yeah, I've just had, nominations for that. I'm kind of a working actor. He's like, I did all this and that. And he's like, I'm struggling to pay rent.
Yep. Hmm.
And it's a very real thing. And I get it.
Well,
I
we've
understand.
discovered that how during the actor strike that happened like now almost 2 years ago, year and a half, ago, where the some actors you would not presume were actually just living paycheck to paycheck, really. And
Yeah,
it's insane how, yeah, unless you're like the 1% of them, names like Brad Pitt or like George Clooney, you're fine. But like, not most people even in Hollywood are not that level. So
sure.
yeah.
I think there's a couple reasons for that. But well, one particularly is some of these people who, for example, they get big paychecks and they just are used to getting the big fat paychecks and they're just used to spending it
Hmm.
horribly. And I see that. Poor money management, I think, has a lot to do with a lot of that.
Hmm.
Uh, Smart money management will definitely get actors farther. And those are the type of actors that you see also being producers
Yeah.
and executive producers or people who are, they're also running other companies or something like that. I think one example could be Gwyneth Paltrow,
Oh yeah.
uh, brilliant lady. She owns a very successful cosmetic line now, like, called
Hmm.
Goop.
Yep.
And I met her at one of her Goop events. Wonderful, wonderful gal,
Hmm.
extremely successful. I'm sure that it didn't hurt that she was in, Avengers or the
Yep.
Iron Man and
Yep.
a very successful actress.
Also Oscar winner.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
those help. Those things help.
Oh, 100%. I would
Um,
imagine.
yeah, but also she comes from the time of when actors were and movies were making the big money.
Hmm.
So 2020 changed a lot of things for the industry,
But
how things are made,
hmm
and
hmm
COVID made a lot of things very difficult for the industry
hmm But wasn't it
because
even even before COVID, like streaming changed things?
streaming, yeah, I mean, streaming definitely changed, was already on that path.
Yep.
COVID made it like solidified. It was the chopping block
Hmm
for the
hmm
film theater for the past several years. And it's tough. And now, if you want to get movies in the theaters, unless it's like a big studio hit, you have to pay the theaters to have your movie in the theater.
hmm
Um, and it can be expensive. It'd be like $10,000 per theater, something like that. And then out of ticket sales, you can get that like paid back or whatever a little bit. But for the most part, it's just advertisement or marketing now for your movie. They have
hmm
to. Is that crazy? That's crazy to me that you
No,
have
it
to
is.
pay movie theaters to do that. And that's the system now. That's the model now.
But you can tell like how even
Yeah.
like I remember reading article with or like interview with Steven Spielberg back in like 2010 11 where he
Yeah.
kind of foresee that he was asked about like what do you think is the future of cinema, and he said I unfortunately believe the cinema will be for the blockbusters and the more like dramatic stuff and like more like human stories will be television. And and there was a when right when Netflix was starting up, like it was already in existence, but I don't think they were streaming yet. So like he already had the thought that there will be a time where cinema experience will be reserved for the biggest of blockbusters,
Yeah.
and like human stories will be delegated to TV. And obviously he didn't know about streaming, and yeah, now like many great movies are go directly to streaming, and people don't know. Oh, hey, this movie exists. Have you seen it? No, I never even heard of it. But it's on Hulu, it's on Netflix, it's on Disney Plus. But there's no promotion for it, so they kind of get lost in a shuffle. And
Yeah.
then you get, and then okay, then every once in a while you stumble upon this hidden gem, and it's like this actor, this actor, this actor, this actress is in this great movie, and nobody's talking about it because it was released directly to streamers back in like 2 years ago, and it's
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
crazy.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think the future of cinemas are going to be reducing a lot. They'll be in the big cities, but the way cinema will be, to me, I think is how opera or like theater kind of is today.
Mm,
So opera used to be like vaudeville was everywhere. Every
yep.
town had little stages and they were the place to go on the weekend. It was, pre-film.
Hmm
Film killed that. And now we only have the big ticket operas that are, minimum $250 a ticket in whatever seats for those performances. And I think it's going to become the same way for cinema. And it's just going to be these big theaters or the theaters that are in these bigger cities that are going to be alive. And those ticket prices, I think, are going to turn to, you know, 50, 60, $100 ticket prices eventually. I'm talking a decade from now or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a moviegoer, I hope you're wrong, but I kind of see what you mean. Yeah, I kind of see like it's hopefully I will never have to pay £100 because obviously we don't have dollars here. I don't, like something like that for a one movie ticket because that would be yeah, but
I
it'll be
think
tough.
in the 2030s, I think it will be something of a reality because right now, like I was saying, the system, the current way that things are, the movie theaters that the way are,
Hmm
people aren't going to them. They're going to have to close. It's just not a sustainable model at the moment, and they're barely hanging on as is.
hmm
Um, Luckily, we had that crazy AMC stock market thing going on during COVID, and that's
hmm
still sort of happening, and that supported them a lot.
hmm
But that craze is going to be dying down. People are moving a lot to streaming. There is a steady increase of people returning back to the theaters,
hmm
which is good. But I think in 10 years' time, I wouldn't be surprised seeing $100 movie tickets and a lot of these theaters closing down because I think a lot of them already are.
Yeah,
for the
again, like you're
most
right. Like during COVID, many theaters shut down. Like I know in Amer I don't live there, but I heard many stories of mainly in America how many even chains like closed down, and
part.
it's the same here. Like we have a chain here that just now shut down 6 or 10 theaters all over UK. So like it's still, it still exists, but they have to just like, okay, we need to cut the fat, and these ones are just not making us any money, so they need to go, and it's a shame. It is a shame.
It sucks.
Hmm.
My plan, my hope is to get real rich and buy movie theaters and just be like, all right, everybody, it's a party
That'd
coming.
be
We're
cool.
gonna do and turn it into events because I think you have to kind of turn the movies into events.
Hmm.
And I'm seeing that. So, if you know, do you know the movie Heretic? It was just out.
Yes. Yeah.
So those guys who made that, Beck and Woods, are from Iowa. They're from
Mm.
the opposite side of my state. They made a quiet place. So they bought a movie theater where they're from in,
Hmm.
I think it's Dubuque, Iowa, which is the opposite side of the state from me. Um, but they were talking like it's hard. It's hard to do this. They had a special screening. Sorry to give background. They had a special screening in the capital of our state called Des Moines,
Hmm.
and they packed the theater. It was a large theater, and they packed it out. But because it was a special event that they were at, where they were doing a Q&A screening of Heretic, and they've been doing that sort of tour around all over the place. But they were even talking about how they bought a movie theater in their town to show, both mainstream but also help indie world.
Hmm.
Like it's hard. You have to make it happen
Yep.
for these people to invite it and make events or do whatever just to get people into the seats. And
I
it's tough.
And I think that's why many companies and or producing companies behind those movies feel like they need to spend more and more on the marketing of those movies. Like,
Yeah.
so people actually show up. And yeah.
This is true. And I'm seeing it, as a producer myself, I do produce. I am now seeing, it used to just be, okay, yeah, we can spend, whatever X amount for production and, you know, a bit of the a bit of the income from it will help to pay for some basic marketing. And
Hmm.
that's basic marketing is easy because people are going to watch it no matter what, just because of who's in it, the genre, etc. But now I would say, you have to dedicate 50% minimum to marketing, of 50% of your budget to
Hmm.
marketing. So whatever you spend on production, expect spending that much at least on marketing. Like Enora, for example,
Yep.
their budget was 6 million and they spent 16 million on marketing.
Yep.
It's insane.
And it worked.
But it makes sense. But that's just how the world is. That's how the world works. You can have the best movie in the world, but if nobody knows about it, who's going to
Correct.
watch it?
Correct. Yep.
And maybe it'll be a sleeper hit, that's happened plenty of times where people,
Hmm.
movies that were not popular 10 years ago are getting traction now because people are slowly learning about it through word of mouth or talking about it. But
Yep.
it's this thing that it doesn't happen until
Correct.
later,
It's
which
not
is rare.
overnight. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like, there's a saying like Leonard Maltin always says, like overnight success is always, it's one of those like 20 years in making. Like especially for actors. It's like, yeah, this hottest actor or actress overnight success, but then you look at them their bio and it's like, "Oh yeah, no, I've been working ever since I was 15." You know.
There's a quote on, I don't remember who the actor was, but I think it was on like David Letterman or one of those
Mhm.
talk shows. And the talk show guy was like, "Yeah, you've become an overnight success." And the guy goes, "Yep, 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight success.
Yep.
There's 20 years of no sleep, blood, sweat, tears, and hard work to just overnight
I know,
become a
right?
success." Thank you. But honestly, it's like that's what you work for.
Hmm.
Those 20 years of dedication and putting it in your career to get to that moment when you're finally, okay, I'm an actor now, like recognized, people can
Hmm.
recognize. And it's the same, I think, in any industry that
Hmm.
you work in to get that sort of kind of recognition, the amount
Yeah.
of time and energy that you put to it. And
100%.
it could be the same, just maybe not on like the on a national or global scale of recognition from those, but maybe within one's industry. Yeah,
Hmm.
of course.
No, 100%. I think that this has been the longest answer to like what's your late, newest movie you'd rate 5 out of 5 I've ever had on this show, by the way. I like that. I really
Oh,
like
sure.
it.
Well, we keep going off on tangents over here,
That's
so
this is the
you
tangent,
know,
this is tangent the show, so all good, all good. So
sure. I love it.
what do you think, or what would you say is the last quote unquote teen movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything in between 2003 and 2019.
Ooh, before 2019. Once again, back to the series. I'm a Harry Potter fan.
Oh,
I
nice.
just I read the books and what are the movies absolutely perfect and everything? No, did not. But at the same time, it's the feeling and that
Yep.
involvement that you have. Also, I worked with Tom Felton, who played Malfoy.
Hmm.
You know, so I'm like I'm biased.
Yeah.
Uh,
So is there a
yeah,
specific
so
one
I
you
would
want to
say
shout
those.
out? Is there a specific one you want to shout out, or just like the entire like series as a whole?
Yeah, the series as a whole, but gotta be there's gotta be something. I don't know. There's gotta be a movie. Do you have any movies but in that time period that you really like or love? I know there exists for sure. Oh, I love Fury. Fury is a movie that I could watch.
Oh, with
Another
Brad
war
Pitt.
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Uh Fury was awesome. I love
great movie.
300. I love war
Awesome.
movies like that, 300, those standalone.
That's also a
Um
great movie. 300. Yeah. Zack Snyder. We've mentioned him
yeah,
before. Yep.
I met one of the producers from 300. He came and spoke to a class that I was taking
Okay.
there for a long time. Kingdom of Heaven, was that in that time period?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
All those war movies, they were so good back then. They did
Mm-hmm.
such a great job on those. Alexander the Great
Mm-hmm.
movie,
Oliver
was
Stone.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
2004. Yeah.
that counts.
Oh,
I love
100%.
those movies. I've got to steer away from the
Mm-hmm.
saying just war movies and things. How about yourself? What any
Out of
movies that you
those
think?
you mentioned, I love 300. I love, what was the one before? Well, Harry Potter, like, I've read all the books as well. I grew up on those books. Unabashedly, I love all the movies. I'm a due for a rewatch. I haven't rewatched them in a while, so I'm definitely due for a rewatch. No, but the Harry Potter is that's my yeah. I'm that generation grew up reading those books, so
Nice.
you know the target audience right here. And yeah, like 300. I remember at one time it was like my number two favorite movie of all time, and it still holds a special place in my heart, I'll say. So like, and Gerard Butler, like that's the introduction, like the world's introduction to Gerard Butler, really, where he became megastar. So yeah, no, like 300 is awesome. I still think to this day probably Zack Snyder's best movie. Debatable, like maybe Dawn of the Dead also is great, like his first movie. I'm not quite sure the path he's on right now with the stuff he's been making lately. I'll be
Oh,
honest.
The Watchmen. I love The Watchmen.
The Watchmen is great, yeah.
So good. Well, that's that was one of my top five
Watchmen is also
favorite
great.
films.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
watched that in a cinema, so like I still remember that watching in 2009 in a cinema. That was awesome.
yeah. Actually, I think that's my favorite time period of films. I
Hmm.
think it was like after something happened after 2016,
Hmm.
where just like movies stopped being cool. I don't know, or fun. Maybe it was because I grew up and stopped having time to watch movies.
There are definitely great
I,
movies there, I'll say,
yeah,
after 2016. Yeah, but you need
they
to,
exist, but they're not as much as like the
yeah.
2000 to 2016 time period. For example, I'm looking at others like the Bourne movies happened
Hmm.
up until then.
Hmm.
Troy, also an awesome movie in that time.
Hmm.
Sin City,
Yep.
so cool. I'm looking at like a list. V for Vendetta,
Hmm.
great movies.
No,
I'm looking at like
awesome.
a list of all these and it's like, oh, Casino Royale,
Oh
this is
yeah.
great. I actually love the X-Men movies too. Those were so fun to watch.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's when the superhero movies were like just first coming out and didn't become a corporate, commercialized movies. So I'd really love those back in the day.
Or the
Back in the
original
day,
Spider-Man. They're like the Sam
Tobey
Raimi's.
Maguire.
Yeah, Sam Raimi, like the director. Awesome.
Yeah.
The first two, especially, like.
Yeah, that's when the
Chef's
Transformers
kiss.
came out. That's when the Pirates of the Caribbean came out.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's like now they're just trying to recreate all these major successes with all you know, the
Hmm.
100th sequel or something.
Yep.
Tropic Thunder came out then. Iron Man came out,
Yep.
you know. I think this was the golden age of film
Okay.
in this time. Came out, you know.
Hmm.
Avatar, um,
Hmm. No, a lot of
everything.
great, like,
Up,
oh,
District
yeah.
9,
Yep.
The Hangover,
Yep.
Zombieland, Star Trek, like
Dark Knight, like, yeah, like, just
Inception, Dark Knight, absolutely.
again, Nolan fanboy right here. So, like, you're talking my language.
Oh yeah. I'm just
No.
like kind of going through the different movies. Kick Ass, I loved that movie. That was so fun.
Hmm.
That was a
Hmm.
Nick Cage film.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know.
Uh
I'm aware. Yeah, great movie. Great
yeah,
movie.
I'm looking at a list and I'm just like, oh man, now I'm feeling nostalgia for all these.
So is it
Thor
fair to
first
say?
one.
So is it fair to say that's your favorite movie decade then? Like so like
Yeah.
2000s, like 2010, like that like first decade of the 2000s would be your favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the age.
Hmm.
This is the age and the time that it really solidified that I wanted to become an actor because
Hmm.
that's when, I had the time to sit and watch the movies and, I'd
Hmm.
be at home
Yeah.
getting to watch these and doing my homework on commercial breaks back when before streaming, back when the theaters were cool and fun and I
Hmm.
would do something called Cinema Sunday. So I would even go to the theaters on my own on Sundays
Okay.
in college or something and just go watch movies on my own. I had the time and the
Hmm.
energy and the money to do it. Back when they were just like $10 to go
Hmm.
see a movie or something.
I will say I know there's still some sort of stigma about this, but I'm loud and proud about this. I love going to the cinema on my own. Like sure, I'll go with a friend or with my girlfriend. Sure.
Mhm.
But if nobody has time, if I have like an special day off, I don't mind going to to cinemas on my own and watching like two or three movies in a row. Like just time it so like one movie finishes and another one starts in like 20 minutes. So I'm like, yeah, perfect. Great day. Like,
Yeah, I used to do that all the time, like every week.
yeah, that's awesome. Like I used
Yeah.
to like with the job I have, I've now been promoted, so I no longer work shifts, but I used to work shifts, so like 4 days or 4 nights in a row, 12 hours. So that was especially the night shifts were quite tough, I'll say that. But you would get, or I would get, I would get 4 days off after, and those 4 days off were great. Like you can go on Tuesday, where nobody else is in a cinema, so you would go by yourself. Or you effectively see a bunch of movies almost by yourself. There would be like maybe five other people, so they wouldn't be bothering you. That was so awesome.
Sorry, speaking of people bothering me, I've got a little neighbor kid who's coming around. I'm gonna hide from him a little bit. He
I'm
wants
like,
to come and play. He's gonna knock on my door here soon and be like, "Can you come and play football?" Be like, "No, go hang out with your own kids your own age." Well, there's the knock. I just heard it.
all right.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna hide right now before he starts peeking in the windows. It's the tough part about living in Iowa. Back in Iowa now, you have neighbors who actually like you and want to hang out with you.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. I love the kid. The kid. We have a whole. So I grew up in this neighborhood where I lived. More tangents. Sorry.
That's fine.
I grew up in this neighborhood. I just moved back to Iowa
Hmm.
in a house that's right around the corner from my parents. My brothers live in one. So we know every neighbor, everybody, people I grew up with or people who moved in become friends and stuff. And
Hmm.
so this is one of the kids that we play with all the time. He's lives across the street. So and I've got the neighborhood football. So
Ah,
so football is in American football.
yeah, American football, yes. Not
So
soccer, not soccer, American football.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
it's
I got
funny because soccer is actually comes from England.
it. Hmm.
The term comes from England. So it was
Yes.
originally from UK, but then now Americans get crap for using soccer instead of
Mm.
football makes sense because you're kicking it, but
Literally
and
with your
then
foot. You
football,
yeah, you
yeah,
kick the ball with your foot.
yeah.
It
American football doesn't make sense, but hey, it is what it is.
it is what it is. Correct.
It is. So yeah.
No, it must
So
be nice to be the, neighborhood's popular guy. Like, nice.
I'm the second most popular guy.
Second. Who's the first?
A guy, his name is Colton. He's got a really big beard. He looks like a Viking.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a very handy man. He's cool. He helped us move in. He helped me install like a water heater, and he helps me with projects. He's just like, all right, neighbor, we're gonna do some cool stuff today.
Nice.
He's funny. He's a funny guy, but he's always playing with the kids after he gets home from work, and he's got 5 dogs. So
Wow.
yeah, he's crazy. Big dogs and little dogs. So he's the popular guy because
I see.
he has more time to be here with everybody.
Makes
Uh
sense. Makes sense.
yeah. But yeah, back to the movies. I was just looking more at the list. You know, this is also the time when John Wick came out, you know, that crazy series.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Keanu, like
What
that
else?
was like Keanu Renaissance really because he's been
Yeah.
I don't want to say struggling, but like he's had a streak of movies where people watch them and like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. And then like after Matrix and that basically gave him a new kick in his career and it's great. Like all those
Yeah.
movies are just especially the last one like redefines action in quite a few different ways how it's shot. I love that like shot where you almost like it reminds you of like 80s game where the camera is on the ceiling and you just see it as everybody's walking and it's one continuous shot. And I find those kind of scenes very enticing and obviously that must have taken a lot of days to get it done properly. So I admire that.
You like those tracking shots? I too like tracking shots as
Oh
well.
yeah, like if they make sense within the movie and like in John Wick for all the glorious action that movie has, it's a beautifully shot movie as well, which many people in modern day Hollywood still don't know how to shoot act. Well, it's not like they don't know.
I
They need to
agree.
do the best what they are given, especially like, obviously because most actors will not do fight sequences. They need to cut around. Hey, there's a stuntman, but you cannot, as an audience member, you cannot tell this is a stuntman. This is not this major action, major star we paid $10 million. You know,
Yeah.
so I
I agree
understand.
with that. And that's something I want to bring back to
Hmm.
movies. And I try to communicate that with directors and producers that I work with.
Hmm.
But I'm also working with budgets. But at the same time, it's like that, so one of the thing that I really loved in old school Netflix is they would have a great selection of international films. And I
Yep.
really loved like Southeastern Asian uh, kung fu films or karate
Hmm.
films that were modern day. I
Hmm.
thought their narrative and storytelling was awesome, was really great. I didn't know what they were saying, except through the subtitles,
Of course.
but they would choreograph the fight scenes so well that would tie into the movies amazingly. Another great movie, Ip Man.
Oh
It
yeah.
was a favorite of mine, for example. And this is, and I think that sprung off of the genre of action films, of fighting films over there
Hmm.
that we never truly adopted here. Maybe John Wick could be relative to that and that style. Because who was okay, the director was Chad Stahelski, but,
Chesovsky, yeah. He used to be stunt
but
coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. He used to work
yeah,
with Keanu on Matrix movies, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say, I know the stunt coordinator on here, or stunt coordinators on here were awesome. I don't remember who it was, but they worked hard on it, like you were talking about,
Hmm. Hmm.
and made it because of that, and because it was so beautifully shot and choreographed. It was awesome,
Oh
and
yeah.
they put effort and time into it, and that's something I would love to see more in cinema, the action cinemas as well.
Speaking of like South Asian like martial arts movies, have you seen the Raid movies?
I have pretty badass.
See, yeah,
Yeah.
that's both of them are just exceptional. Not only exceptional fight choreography, but exceptional filmmaking. Just A plus. Like those movies, just if they don't get your adrenaline pumping, are you even alive? You
Oh
know,
yeah.
that's one of those.
There's that. There's another random one. I forgot. It was called The Man from Nowhere.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's Korean. It might be Korean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Also cool, badass, great choreography, well shot. I think the last action scene in that
Mm-hmm.
was badass. It's just a guy, similar to this, it's a guy who moves into an apartment. He's quiet. He can't talk about his past.
Hmm.
But there's a apartment next to them with a cute little girl and her troubled mom, and the
Hmm.
mom gets into trouble, and then the cute little girl comes to bother the guy all the time, and he's like, "Get out of here, go away. I'm not friends with anybody, nothing, stand off."
Yeah.
But eventually, she like gets kidnapped or something by these really bad people, and this little girl was the only piece of human touch, like or kindness that he'd seen in probably a decade, something
Hmm.
like that. And then so he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna turn my back on all these bad underworld people because they're kidnapping kids
Hmm.
and doing bad things.
How was
So
it called again? The movie?
the man from nowhere,
The
I
Man
think
from
it's
Nowhere. Okay, I'll have to look it up because that sounds intriguing.
yeah, but yeah, it's a 2010 film.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it. Oh, a very good rating. 7.7 on IMDb. That's very
Yeah,
good.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah,
Okay.
the last action scene there is one that I'm like, well done. Awesomely. They just him in a room with a whole bunch of guys, and it is bloody
Hmm.
and chaotic, and I think well done. I think they did a really good job on it.
Well,
So
thank you
I
for
love
the
that.
recommendation. I will check it out. I'll definitely check that out. I will recommend you one if you like the raid movies on a Netflix. I hope it's on in America as well. There's a movie called The Night Comes for Us. If you have not, if you watched that or have not heard about that,
The Night Comes for Us, a
yes.
2018 film.
It also has Iko Uwais from the raid movies, but it has nothing to do with the raid, except for it's a greatly choreographed, beautifully shot martial arts movie. It might not have as much more of a narrative, but there are certain scenes I've never seen done in my life. Like the way they break some body parts, I'm like, that's not supposed to be done like that. That just feels painful. Like you feel in pain for those people. And I was like, damn, that's a movie.
All right, I'm gonna watch a little bit of the trailer right here. It's a 2 minute trailer, Netflix. For 3 years, I was doing smoking death, carried out countless massacres.
No, but yeah, it's an awesome movie. It's
Okay, I dig this. All right,
it's an awesome movie. Do you have any hot movie takes for us?
hot movie takes for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
What do you mean?
Like any
Hot
like hot take like I don't know. I'm done with sequels or there's not enough sequels. Whatever you fancy.
We need another 20 more John Wick sequels and probably 15 more Captain Americas. And I'm kidding. I mean, yeah, it kind of ties back to everything that we were talking about. It'd be
Hmm.
great to see original content,
Hmm.
original stuff that people can come up with on their own in the indie film world. But the problem
Yep.
is, once again, as we're seeing and talking about, they have to spend, $20 million on marketing.
Hmm.
So on anything, and it's very difficult for any indie filmmakers to get that kind of budgets in their for their movies.
No, I get it. Yeah, it's
So yeah.
yeah.
So
There should be more original stuff. 100%.
yeah, what would I say? Hot takes. I don't know.
That's
I
fine.
don't
We
know.
can. That's fine. To be
I,
fair,
I
like
think
we.
I think the Hollywood needs I think Hollywood is very out of touch
Mhm.
with reality, which that's sort of escapism, but not reality, I would say out of touch with the regular person.
Okay.
And they need to stop putting any kind of agendas into their movies and make it fun again.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, because of movies and the essence of movies and what they, essentially started out
Hmm.
as forms of escapism or art, and art as escapism or escapism as art.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot less of that. They're afraid to take risk
Hmm.
anymore. Studios just want to make another big blockbuster of the same thing because they know it'll work. They know it'll make money, and yeah, sure, it makes money. It makes sense. I get it. But at the
It's the
same
path of
time,
least resistance, isn't it? Like, they just
yeah,
basically trying to like, hey, this works, but they don't understand why. Like, I don't think they necessarily understand why film A has worked that well, and they greenlight like Barbie would be a great example. Barbie did a lot of, like gangbusters, great, lot of money, Oscar nominations, all that. But I don't think they've learned why. So they greenlit like a lot of other. Hey, this is based on toy as well. So we greenlit this movie, this movie, this movie, this movie because it's also based on toys. So here we go, and we're gonna make so much money. And I'm like, I don't think that's what made Barbie popular. So okay, like
yeah,
if you give it the attention like Greta Gerwig gave it, sure, if you hire good people who actually care about what the movie is about, yeah. But if you're gonna just make a movie for the sake of, yeah, this is also a toy. People like movies based on toys, so we give them more. Yeah, that's not gonna work.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Barbie worked because A, like you said, she gave a lot of attention to it. Greta gave
Hmm.
tons of attention to it. But B, it was also a brand that is known throughout generations.
Yep.
That is, I think, globally recognized.
Hmm.
So that's kind of you already have once again that IP behind it, the intellectual property behind it, just like making movies from books.
Hmm.
That's a cool thing. I don't mind movies being made from books.
But then
Um,
not all of them work because again, many movies based on books, no, many of them are not great. And then when people read reviews and like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna waste my already expensive movie ticket on that. So what held Barbie? Sure, like based, like the IP, yes, it's recognizable name, yes, but also because people will genuinely love that movie. So people actually talk to each other and like, yeah, Barbie is actually great. You should go see it. And I remember seeing both Oppenheimer and Barbie, and those both of those screenings were
Barbenheimer.
Barbie. Yeah, exactly. You know it, and both of those screenings were 80-90% full. It was opening weekend, but still, that's rare. Like for where at least where I live.
Well,
So
that was a rare phenomenon. So what happened there was because they opened or
marketing,
released on the
yeah,
same day, that was a big marketing ploy that
hmm,
they competition between the two essentially created more marketing
yeah,
for them. It's a weird psychological trick that has been found out for a long time. For example, um, in the US, there are tons of Burger Kings and McDonald's.
hmm,
What they found was one would think that if you put them next to each other, people will be like, oh, less likely to go to each. But what they found actually is something basic was Pepsi versus Coca-Cola vending machines.
hmm,
So what they did was there would be a Pepsi Cola, a Pepsi vending machine,
hmm,
uh, and Coca-Cola, I think it was, wanted to be like, oh, we need to take sales from Pepsi. So they
hmm,
put a Coca-Cola machine right next to Pepsi to be like, oh, now you have to, choose. And what one would think would be that it would split the amount of purchases, that there
hmm,
would be less purchases for both. But what happened was there actually was more purchases for both of them because that competition created more activation in the mind, just like Burger King versus McDonald's.
hmm.
So here, a lot of places you'll see McDonald's and then you'll see Burger King,
Yep, next to
and
each
people
other.
are created with the choice, but the best choice is to not go for either of
Yeah.
them because they're unhealthy. And it's the same thing with this marketing for these films.
Hmm.
They created Barbenheimer, two opposite films that are not related to each other by any means. But
Hmm.
because they're like, oh, you kind of have to choose between both, it created a huge phenomenon in marketing for both of these films, and that
Hmm.
allowed for a huge box office weekend
But
for all of everybody involved.
yeah, yeah. But
It's
I will
great.
also say, as a person
Yeah.
who remembers that, because it was only 2 years ago,
Hmm.
there was sure they both of the movies spent shit ton of money on marketing. I don't even want to guess how much. But the internet, there was one of those magical moments where somehow that took, and people started to make memes about this movie and seeing that movie and seeing both of those movies. on opening
Mhm.
weekend. And that was, and I think they are, you will see in next couple of years, the studios trying to recreate that magic that
Mhm.
to a large extent happened naturally. And I think that goes to your point,
Did it?
what you made
Did it?
before. You
Did it
know,
happen naturally?
well, again, look, again, like
Did it?
part of it, part of it was because like no matter how much money you spend, right? There are big blockbusters that failed. Like look at John, what was it? John, what was the movie? John something from Mars in 2012. There was a big Disney big like spent 250 million. It was promoted everywhere. And to this moment, to this day, it's one of the biggest blockbuster fails of all time. What was the name of the movie? John something from Mars. I'm gonna be mad. Oh, John Carter. Yes, John Carter.
Oh.
And that was one of the biggest, like in Hollywood, like history of Hollywood is littered with, hey, we spent 200 million, we promoted this movie, and nobody's going to see it. Like last year was the prime example of that. Like Indiana Jones flopped, and that's a big IP, people love it, but the movie was okay at best, so people didn't go to see it. Flash, hyped as one of the best comic book movies, but the movie wasn't great, so people didn't go see it. So I think that's, like, and they spend tons of money on promotions. Even here, I've seen it everywhere. But a Barbenheimer, they struck something so not pure. The marketing helped create what people actually went with and actually didn't mind memeing on because nowadays that's the culture. Young people meme about stuff, for
Hmm.
better or worse. And that now they will try to recreate that, but again, it's the same like cult movies, and to an extent, to your point, this has to kind of happen naturally, and at the end of the day, the audience will decide whether something is a cult movie or whether something is worth the hype, not the studios. Studios can spend 500 million, but if the movie is not great, you will not sell out any seats. Like if you can spend no matter that's I genuinely believe that you can spend all your money, but if the movie you deliver gets not great reviews, especially from the audience, I'm not talking critics, I'm talking audiences, those theaters will be empty. And we have seen that times and times again, no matter if it's 80s, 90s, now. Yeah.
Sure. But the difference between those is Barbie and Oppenheimer were good movies. The
Yeah, that's
other
what I'm saying.
movies were not.
No, no, that's what I'm
And so
saying.
it's like, yeah, they all spent tons of money on marketing. They still got people into the seats, but yeah, eventually there also a lot of those movies were fairly out of touch as
And,
well, which is something, back to what I was saying is very common in Hollywood.
yep.
Other these films, when you talk about these organic
Mhm.
growth and meaning and things like that, is it really organic?
Again, sure, like like
It seems that way, but I know some secrets.
I
There
look,
are secrets that
I am
exist.
aware. I am aware that nowadays there are companies that on Reddit and certain other forums have paid members that are trying to push these things. I am aware of those. But
Yeah. So there are a lot of people who are
mhm,
really good at these things
mhm,
and making it seem like they are
yes,
organic.
yes,
Um, it's very relative or similar to that, and people who are just more knowledgeable about social media.
mhm, mhm,
And it's not just like the sponsored pages like putting out this,
yep,
but it's getting people to get inspired to get creative on their own. So in a sense, yeah, it's creative, but they have people, influencers will say, or people who are smart and good with these things to start
mhm,
getting off of this and then let it go from there. So yeah, it is, I would say, you're right. There's
mhm,
organicness to it, but it's also there was a fire lit
mhm,
in the first place to
yes,
spread that fire.
yes,
And it was made, crafted, done, and done well.
and
And there are
even
some recent
since,
movies that I know about
yeah,
who I spoke to the distributors themselves privately.
mhm,
Uh, I won't I won't say the movies, but
of
you'd be
course,
like, "Oh my God, it all makes sense." But what they did was they just had personal friends
mhm,
or people that they knew who were exceptionally good with uh, social media,
mhm,
particularly like social media influencers, and they paid these people a few grand, maybe several $1,000s each, something like that, to help start hashtags and start some of these memes and just get them going, and then got people to get good with that and follow the leader, so to
Hmm.
say, when it comes to those influencers on particular movies.
Hmm.
And the same thing with music. I know
Yep.
people who
Yep.
do that
No,
as a good way of
100%.
marketing.
No,
And
100%. I know what you mean. But also to another point, I think those companies still underestimate the your average I call them constantly online people. What I mean by that, more because I'm not part of that generation, but the generation that's younger than me are they can spot these almost instantly. Because like like
yeah,
I see a funny meme, let's say movie related, non-movie related, I'm like, yeah, haha. And I read the comments, and it's already somebody linked this profile that this is a bot because they have no history and they have they opened the account only a couple of months ago, so that's a fishy. So it's probably a promotion for this product. So young people are
yeah,
quite good at hey, this is actually not one of us. This is probably a company person. Or like when I've also noticed how certain celebrities when they have movies coming out some forums on Reddit do tend to post more pictures of theirs, like women celebrities, for example, or like funny clips from this movie they've done, like several, how it just so happens. And again, I know, like, yeah, like as a person who I don't think is constantly online, but is has grown in the age of internet, so I am aware of these forces. I am always very skeptical about everything I see online because like I always like, okay, is this video, is this meme, is this picture pushing me something? Is this trying to sell me something? Is it trying to tell me something? Or is it just a funny thing?
yeah. I'm a constantly online person, so they're always like Instagram ads or whatever, or with people are pushing that.
Hmm.
Now, one of the things, the main things that people will comment on
Hmm.
those is they just say, "Okay, Diddy." They're like, "Okay, Diddy," and you'll just see like lists, like tons and tons of comments of people just saying, "Okay, Diddy," or
Hmm.
"Okay, Diddy," followed by like something relative to the post
Hmm.
going on. It's like, okay, say, I don't know, they're trying to sell you this or that, or push
Yeah,
some sort of
yeah,
propaganda or marketing, and
yeah.
like, sure, Diddy, whatever.
But
And
again, like
it's comedy now. It's funny because
it
it's
is,
like, yeah, these people are catching on to what's going on, and the
it
old
is,
ways don't work. You'll
and
do, out with the old, in with the new. And we got to
it's
get good and savvy at it.
yeah, and it's hard to stay on top of like, those trends and what's, because nowadays, like, if something is funny one day, the next day it's like, oh, that's old news. We're
Yeah.
laughing at this thing now, so that's old. Ah, yeah, old person here, like, oh, you're still using this word. We no longer use this word. We now use
Yeah.
this word. And it's like,
People already forgot about last week's news. Nobody
correct.
remembers. It's already
Yeah,
gone.
correct. And again,
It
I'm
doesn't.
not even that old, and I feel old. Like, reading some of these like, posts, and I'm like, damn, like fuck, I'm old. Like,
You're an old guy. Old
yeah,
guy over here, man.
just with my cane and like cap and like, oh, kids nowadays, back in my day.
Fucking mad. I find myself saying that way too much.
Yep.
Bad.
No,
Oh, well, we're getting there.
Chris, this has been a blast. I'm gonna say like this has been an unusual podcast because it's more of a free flow conversation, but I really liked it, and I appreciate your time. You've been kind enough that you answered all my questions, so I do appreciate that. Thank you for that. Before we say
Hey, thanks for
goodbye,
having me on.
no, it's thank you. No, thank you for agreeing. Before we say goodbye, do you have a question or two for me?
Oh, I'll think of them once we get off. I'll
Sure.
be like, oh, I think if you ask a whole bunch of questions. Okay, how about this?
Hmm.
Pilsner or Scotch
Ah,
whiskey? Which are you gonna represent out of your homelands?
I
You've
will
been in Scotland
say.
for 14.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will say if I'm in Czech Republic, definitely like Pilsner or like a beer on tap. If I'm
Mm,
here, most of the time I live here. This is my home now. I do have a British passport to support it. So, uh, Scotch because the beer, even if it's Czech beer, quote unquote, it tastes different. It's
I
not the
believe it.
same beer. So like I don't actually drink any beers here. I to be fair, I rarely drink. If I drink a cocktail or like a whiskey, I have some nice collection back downstairs. Yeah, like once a
Dude, if I
month
were living
maybe.
in Scotland, I'd be drunk all the time. Be dangerous.
We do have some nice whiskeys here. I'll say it. We have a region here, or like this, like a wee
Hmm.
town that's an hour and 20 minutes from where I live, roughly. And
Hmm.
there are about 20 distilleries in a 2 mile radius. So if you want to do
Oh,
a distillery tour, you go to that town and literally you can take your pick. Like, do you want to go to this one, this one, this one, this one, this? You can go to all of them, and it's awesome. I've done like four or five tours already for like different distilleries, and obviously it's the same process. It's just, fascinating to hear, oh, history of this brand, how it all came about. So yeah, it's
yeah. But there's a ton of history there.
no, yeah, yeah,
You're gonna
no,
hate me
it's
for this, but I don't even like Scotch. I can't.
it's fine.
I don't like
It's
Scotch or Irish, but I love bourbon. I like bourbon.
so you prefer
And it's
like
bad
a
because my background is Irish. I only just went to Ireland for the first time 2 years ago, but
mhm. Okay.
so don't hate me. Anyway,
You
we're
like
going
what you
off on more
like.
tangents right as you're trying to say goodbye.
No, no, no. You
So
like what you like. Hey, you like what you like. Like see on one of the tours, it was Glenfiddich, and they
there you go.
asked and one of the it's a quite nice one. And one of the guys there asked the tour guide, "So you're like the expert, right? So how do you enjoy your whiskey? Like, do you drink it neat with ice, with a bit of water? How do you enjoy it?" And he looked at the guy and said, I always say, like, get asked this question often, and I always say this: there's no incorrect way to enjoy whiskey. As long as you like it, you enjoy it, however you like, but the best with your friends. And I
Best with
really like
friends.
that approach. Like, just, if you like it with ice, don't let anybody stop you, like, tell you, oh, you should drink it neat, no ice or no water. No, fuck that. If you like it with ice, have it with ice. If you like it with a bit of water, have it with a bit of water. It's perfectly fine. It's,
It's a good answer.
yeah,
Hey, you like what you like, and it's the same with movies,
correct,
same with Scotch, same with religion or spirituality,
correct.
same with who knows, food, I don't know, all of
Yeah,
the above.
live and let live. That's all I always say. Live and let live.
Exactly. I think that's a good thing to leave your audience with.
Yeah.
Live and let live, be easy, you know,
So
do
if
unto others as what you would do unto yourself or have done
correct,
unto yourself.
correct. So do you have a social media where people can follow you if they enjoyed what do you had to say?
I do.
Okay.
On Instagram, I'm Chris Fredma. If you want to check me out on IMDb, if you guys go to my page, it helps like
Hmm.
boost my IMDb score,
Okay.
which is handy as an actor because producers or directors will look at that and be like, "Oh, this person's got like a higher, better rank on
Hmm.
IMDb." So check out Chris Maher, IMDb, Maher is the last name. Go spam that. Go leave reviews on any of my movies, Mojave Diamonds, Blowback. I just came out with one or called Boardwalk Winter. It'll be out soon in a month on Hulu or Amazon. And there are probably others. There's a really bad one called Project Legion. Go leave, go watch them and then leave like the most scathing reviews ever,
I was gonna say, what do you mean
please.
bad one? If it has you in it, it cannot be bad, all right? Like, we need
Oh
to
my
sell
gosh,
this
Sean,
stuff. We need to sell this stuff, Chris.
stop it. You're just so sweet.
You know
No,
what
it's
Steven Spielberg said to Shia LaBeouf when he wasn't when he was talking shit about Transformers movies. There's a time and place to make a movie, and there's a time and place to sell a car, and you need to sell the car. You know, yeah,
okay. All right, Steven. And then those movies did really well. Once again,
correct.
Michael Bay, commercially successful,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
commercially successful.
100%. No, yeah,
Absolutely.
those links will be down in the description so people can check out your
For
IMDb and
sure.
follow you. And
Yeah.
as for me, in Movies Lost on Letterboxd or this podcast every other Friday. And as always, this podcast is part of SPDM Crew Media. Special thanks goes to HiFlyer
Nice.
Creative for designing my logo. To see what else they've happening, visit hiflyercreative.com. And until next time, bye bye.
These guys, thanks so much.